So I have been getting asked a lot about how I do the water texture on my bases, and it's a very simple thing. I'm going to walk you through the style and kind of how I do it, but there's a lot of room for improvisation as far as what to do with the rest of the base. I'm going to walk you through how to get the water on there and kind of how I do the beach. But let's hop right into this. So one of the first things that I do is I make sure that I paint the base here. So you're going to see I want to do the beach first, so I get that tan on there all around before I start doing the water. Get a couple coats of it, make sure it's nice and even, because we're going to put sand on top of that, and that'll give us a little more texture on the base. So when I do the actual water, I start with this dark translucent blue, and then I use a white as well, and you kind of can just mix those together. I start with a really dark in the middle, wherever the deepest part of the water that I want to be. I start extra, extra dark, and I work lighter as we go off to the shore. If there's anything in the water as well, that's going to be working light around the base of that as well. Like if there were rocks in the water, around the rocks is going to be really light. So you can see I'm kind of working and getting a little lighter as I go while still blending in that dark to make sure that it's a pretty even gradient. Keep working lighter, keep working lighter. And you can see right here that it's really stark lines from the dark to the light. I'm going to go back and kind of fix that up a little bit. It's harder to get a blend of the water with a bigger base. The smaller the base, the easier it is. And so once I start working to the shore, I really start getting really light. And then once I get all of the water kind of put down onto the base, as far as painting goes, I like to go back and kind of blend in, do a nice light cleanup line right along the shoreline of a really light blue or even an almost white. So you can see we get that extra light blue in there. Then we're going to move on to the sand. I use Elmer's glue. I kind of just put it on there, and then I spread it around with a paintbrush a little bit here. That kind of, you don't want to have a too thick of a coat, but you want to make sure that the sand actually stays on there. So once you're done with the glue, you kind of take off any extra here. You can spread it around, make sure you got enough there. Then I use kind of this sand. It's like a ballast for trains or something, for model trains. I just pour it right on there. Make sure I get enough of it so it covers the whole thing, and then kind of shake it off a little bit. You can see there's a lot on the base of the flight stand right there. That comes off as long as that paint was dry. Here's the other side as well. So you kind of just pour it on, and then I kind of will just tap it and kind of move it around, shake it all off, and then I get in there and I'll clean up all the rest of that sand right there in the middle with the base. But that's what the sand looks like. Now moving on, we're going to look at the actual water texture itself. I use this Vallejo Diorama FX, and normally I use a paintbrush to apply it, but since this base is so big, I just directly applied it on there, and then I used a paintbrush to kind of spread it around, make sure it covers the whole base, everything that I painted with that blue. Make sure that we're covering up the entire thing there, because it'll look a little wonky if you don't. Put on a nice thick coat. It should look something like this. You can kind of see that it's coming off of the base right there. Nice thick coat. That's kind of what it'll look like. It'll give it that shine. And it takes a while to dry off, so give it a second, couple hours maybe, and then it should come out looking something like this. Thank you for watching.